Hello, my name is Laurent Canicioni, otherwise known as Bonaparte333 on the Procreate community. And yeah, I wanted to do a commented time lapse. It's been quite a while since I did the last one, and I wanted to comment a few drawings and a painting I did of robots. I wanted to put them all together and do a little time lapse on that. I thought it would be fun. So here we are. The first sketches were all done with the Adonit Jot Touch Pixelpoint, and yeah, I wanted to talk about a little bit about that. A lot of people ask about it and how it is, and want to compare it to other styluses, and I can share my personal experience with it. Um, well, actually, Adonit sent it to me a while back when it came out, and truth be told, I wasn't smitten by it, and it wasn't love at first sight. It was fun, but it's a very different kind of feeling from the traditional, iPad stylus. In terms of its point being very small, and which is great for accuracy, but also it glides a lot on the surface of the iPad screen. So it's a little harder to be precise with it compared to more, rubber tip styluses and stuff like that. So it takes some getting used to, and actually at first I didn't like it that much. It's very good for being very gestural, like making like those circles right there, ellipses and things like that, because it glides very well. But once you want to get more precise, it gets harder and harder. So what I did is I customed it a bit. Usually you have to use a glove with it or something like that so your hand doesn't touch the screen. So I usually wear a one-fingered glove that I had made, and also I put a bit of tape on the tip of the stylus. I usually take a pair of scissors and cut a little strip of tape that goes from one side of the stylus. It goes over the tip and goes on the other side of the tip, so it doesn't like cover the whole tip. It just goes right in front of the tip and stays there, so it helps the tip get a little more grip, and for me that made a big difference. So you can still have a lot of looseness with it and be very gestural, but it's a little more precise. It gives a little more resistance when you try to do details. In terms of which tape to use, I use like painter's tape, tape that has more of a paper quality to it, or you can use tape that's used for, like when you injure yourself. That kind of tape has a more like fabricy texture. You don't want to use tape that is more like, a plastic tape or something like that. Otherwise, there's been problems with the tip and offset issues where you have your cursor or your drawing basically, which is your brush cursor appearing a little besides the tip of the stylus, and that happens way more vertically than horizontally. I found that even with the recent SDK, it's still there. It's better, but it's still there. If you draw slow diagonal lines, there used to be like some wobbly lines, and it gets better too. But these are things you can. It can be or not be a problem depending on how you work. If you want to do very precise inking, like final work, it's more difficult to use. If you want to do things like sketches, like what you're watching here, it's great because you don't have to be 100% precise, and you can always zoom in your drawing if you want to be more specific. So it has its ups and downs. You can charge it and you can take it out, and for me, I don't have any connection issues with Bluetooth. It works very well. I know people who have an iPad Air 2 have more problems, but that's another thing. I don't think it's recommended for that specific iPad because the screen thickness is different than most other models, sorry, and it changed a lot of things with how the Jot Touch Pixelpoint works. So anyway, for my older model iPad, it works pretty well, and I recommend it if you like to sketch a lot. I do have a tendency to change styluses when I do more specific detail work. I use the Wacom ICS-1, and it has a Teflon tip, Jaja's Teflon tip for the tip, so I can see what I draw, and it's very precise and it has very good pressure sensitivity. In terms of pressure sensitivity, the Jot Touch Pixelpoint also has very good pressure sensitivity. About the drawings you're watching, these were all done for the development of an animation project involving robots, obviously. The two first ones have a more steampunk-ish kind of look to them because that's specifically for that project. I wanted something more simplistic, more, less techy, more I would say simple looking or heavy looking or brutish looking. And this guy here is completely different. This one was this complete painting was done while I was testing Procreate 2.3. I was one of the beta testers, and I usually like to start a project that'll last like for the full length of the testing phase, which can last a long time. So having a full, like a full painting usually helps me test every area of the program. Although I didn't really know that this was gonna be the project, which was gonna be, take more time. I was just doing a sketch for fun, and eventually I got into it and started rendering, and yeah, it evolved into something else. So pretty much all the design phase, like, all, especially I guess up to some of the coloring is done with the Pixelpoint, and then I started using the ICS for more detailed work. But I mean, both are interchangeable. I mean, you can do some really nice finishing with the Pixelpoint too if you zoom in the image. What else can I tell you about this guy? Although things got much more colory towards the end of the process, I kind of liked this look right here, where he was more, I guess, a little bit military looking in terms of color, more grayish, more gray-green, and looked a little more menacing, I guess. Well, So yeah, a lot of things I did like this. I usually work with a much higher resolution than this. This is just a retina-sized document, so I could go all the way up to 28 layers, which is like incredibly useful when doing techie stuff. But I usually work for only 4 layers at 4K resolution. But I didn't intend this piece to be like a full finished piece, but I had so much fun like going along that I decided to take it there. And yeah, I didn't really know what to do with him. I decided to have like a alien head in his hand. And at one point I was wondering if this was really a robot or some kind of a suit for something else, but eventually I decided it was just like maybe a war between a race of robots and a race of aliens somewhere. Otherwise, when I started to do pretty much when I finished the design, I decided it would be fun to have some kind of a background, but I didn't plan on something elaborate. I didn't do any perspective grids or whatever. I just started doing like a few ad-libs element. I wanted to have some foreground elements and some background elements that wouldn't be in focus, so it would give some depth to the image. So yeah, you'll see me like draw these pretty fast and dirty, and they're pretty sketchy. Like, as long as a robot is in there, it looks okay, but it wasn't intended to be, like the main focus of the thing, and it's not perfect at all. It's just there to give some kind of a setting. And I don't know why I started drawing some kind of industrial construction site, I guess, with beams there and girders and stuff like that. There you go. And everything was very vertical, so I wanted to have a few diagonal lines. So I used the girders to kind of frame the robot there, and I tried to do some kind of a fabric-y element like this. There you go. And it was kind of too forced, so it didn't really fit with the environment. So I removed it, and in the end I did a little more war zone to explain what was going on. It can be hard sometimes to do like something more like it looks more like a concept art, because you have a character standing there, and then if you turn it into an environment thing, you need to put something a little bit dynamic in there so it doesn't look too stiff. So adding debris and natural elements or stuff like that, like fire or smoke or any kind of natural elements, you know, that can show movement, help break up that stiffness. Yeah, I usually push the lighting in my paintings toward the end of the painting process, so I can fiddle with it at the end. I focus on the design first. It's not necessarily the best way to do it, but sometimes I have more of an elaborate color scheme in mind before I start, and sometimes I just don't, and I let the piece evolve and show me where it wants to go color-wise. So yeah, a couple of spaceships at the back there to put some diagonals and a little bit of action, and it helps put some context there to what's going on. And I hope you enjoyed this little time lapse, and comment and my personal thoughts on the Adonit Jot Touch Pixelpoint. It's a great stylus, and I recommend it if you like sketching a lot. It's very good for that. Alright, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.